With the bishop signing, we confess our sins of negligence and carelessness. We didn't know our children are being destroyed. Then they now say what they want to do.
We do programs to go to churches, to Christians, not only to pray in the pulpit, to teach there. Most of the clergy are motivated by our programs. And now they understood drugs is not a part of an ointment, drug is a disease.
Kama una afya mzuri, utajenga nchi yako. Sababu utafanya kazi, utakwenda shamba, utakwenda ofisini, utakwenda kwa serikali ufanye kazi. Lakini kama umejimaliza na ulevi, uwe Muislamu au Mkristo, hata ibada itakushinda. So nakuta ulevi imetiwa katika kipengele.
Alcohol and drug abuse is a growing phenomenon among the youth, young adults and women. These groups are vital in the productivity and development of a nation. Statistics show that the burden of substance use disorders in sub-Saharan Africa has been projected to increase by an estimated 130%, affecting the socio-economic development of a country.
Look at agriculture. There are 4 factors of production. 4. One is land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, or management. So, with alcohol, land is there, but soon goes to brought maguta maguta. That's a popular thing with the Kikuyus. They sell everything to be plots. Yeah? Labor is not there. Today, where you used to hire 1 man, you need 9 men. So they become even a liability. So people have resorted into some improvised approaches. For instance, you'll be surprised, they use chemicals to wind. Use of chemicals has its own serious disadvantages. So instead of having 1 man do, say, an acre, you have 9 men to do an acre or to do a harvesting. There's no labor.
In Kenya, it is estimated that more than half of drug users are aged between 10 to 19 years, with commonly abused drugs being alcohol, cannabis, glue, and psychotropic substances. According to a 2017 survey conducted by IDADA, nearly 12.2% of persons aged between 15 to 65 years, an estimate of 3.3 million Kenyans, actively use alcohol, while 10.4% are addicts. This survey further indicates that 8.5% of the population, which is 2.2 million people, use tobacco, and bang users at 1%, making 270,000 persons. Kenya has been recognized as a transit country for cocaine and heroin due to its strategic position, resulting to an upsurge of injecting drug users within the country.
The elderly man is Scottish, and he's now very old. He said, and I did not know, but they knew. He said, Kenya one day, if it is not washed, if measures are not put in place to control and manage the trafficking, the movement of drugs, said to come from wherever they come from, pass through Kenya to go to the market, they will remain in the country. Because today they said Kenya thinks that it has given away for drugs to pass, to go to other countries. And they benefit by those who sleep in the hotels, organizing how they'll travel to the other destination. One day there will be no destination, but you'll add with them. These people will be London, which is now true.
Inaochangia sana hapa pwani vijana wengi kujiingiza kwa mihadharati aina mbalimbali. Kwanza ni availability, inafanya vijana wengi wanaipata kwa rahisi na kujiingiza, sababu ya kwanza. Sababu ya pili, pia pressure ile. Unakuta kwamba vijana wanaposhikana basi ni rahisi kwa vijana kuingia kwa mitego kama hii.
Isiolo is the gateway to northern Kenya. And
Moi also was frustrated by somebody who had taken alcohol, and he wanted him to be helped, the family to be helped. So Moi said, Kagudi itaku appoint. He appointed Kagudi, and Kagudi was told to clear alcohol from the estates in Nairobi, not beyond that. That's the time when Kagudi was appointed, being an administrator. He knew more than me because he was a PC. We joined together and we started working.
The executive authority of government at Article 23, that time, we were called section 23 of that constitution, vested the executive authority with the president. And it stated who shall exercise that authority directly or through officers subordinate to him. I had retired in 1999, having served as within the public sector, heading up the top two was Provincial Commissioner Nyanza in Nairobi, and then Permanent Secretary and Director of Personnel Management in the Office of the President. That's the scenario. So the President makes an announcement, and it is stated from how it came in the media, the President has created the Office of the National Coordinator to campaign against drug and substance abuse in schools, other learning institutions, and on the street. He has appointed Joseph Kagudi to be the National Coordinator. I knew it is a complex threat to the country. I just went to Harambe House, head of public service. So when I go to the head of public service now, and she tells me, I just asked her, is am I relevant to the announcement yesterday? What you do, I am not aware. I'm not briefed. The president is in his office. Why don't you go there? She buzzes the president, and I go in. Comes to sit on the lounge. So he told me that more or less that he is concerned because the foundation of the country is getting destroyed by the youth involvement in drugs and substance of abuse. You know, that one is very clear. You can see what he has identified. So I waited now for instructions how to. He just looked at it, he just said, go see what others are doing. So I closed my notebook, put it in a pocket as usual. So I left. I knew I am on my own. I knew there is no session or paper that I referred to. I knew there is no single law that is going to guide this. So, with the kind of exposure that I had in government, I decided what to do. The first thing is to get views. I've never, normally I'm the person who challenges professors, because I tell them we pay you to think. So they are the first lot that I approach. So I go to my old notebook, all my contacts. Professor so and so, you have heard what the president said? Yes, that thing is so serious. Then they talk. Finally, and for me, I just want to know what is the scope of the problem. If nothing is done, and three, in your view, what must I do? They brought them. Go to NACADA, you'll get volume 1, volume 2, and volume 3 of those three answers to the three questions. And that's when I knew drugs and substance abuse is like, how do I describe it? It's like the bride and the elephant. Everybody sees it where they are. So when they came, I knew it is a complex threat to the country. And when the threat is of this magnitude, very complicated, what you do is that I decided burn it to its smallest unit. If you burn it to the smallest unit, you are therefore able to see it. And if you deal with it from that very small unit, then you command it. That's exactly what I did. So I knew then the kind of campaign I'm going to mount will have to take a format that I create.
What we did is, again, with Mr. Kaguthi then, and of course later Mrs. Jennifer Kimani, who took over from Mr. Kaguthi, we worked with various stakeholders on reviewing the context that we had in the country. Actually, before we worked on the bill, we actually had a policy, a draft policy. In fact, the alcoholic drinks control policy is what gave the rise to the alcoholic drink control bill. So the policy looked at the wider perspective and legislative and policy interventions that would control alcoholic drinks. At that particular point, the government was alarmed by the high rate of alcoholic drinks consumption, deaths and disabilities, the number of young people who are consuming alcohol. So it was obvious that the Liquor Licensing Act, as it was, because it was just seeking to control licensing, was not sufficient to deal with control of alcoholic drinks. So that's not the reason why, besides now doing the policy, we started having a public conversation, both with the legislators, Ministry of Health, the Kenya Reform Commission, and other stakeholders. And of course then, because NACADA was within the office of the president, we would have meetings with the provincial commissioners, district commissioners, and police commanders to discuss about what needs to be done.
The National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse adopted the 2018 overarching policy. This policy provides a framework for sustainable, multi-sectoral and balanced approach in addressing alcohol and drugs abuse to protect the health, safety and well-being of the Kenyan population. The policy aims at promoting harmony, coordination, as well as providing clear approaches in managing alcohol and drug abuse.
There's no country in the world that survives without a rigid Alcoholic Drinks Control Act. There's none. So in Kenya, there was none. The first attempt was 1902. 1902, there was a problem at Murang'a, and they started to do something. They didn't succeed, but at the time when they set up the first legislative council, that was 1907, on the 17th of August, around 2 p.m., when they had the first Regico assembly, governor being the speaker and another 5-6 members. There were only 2 bills to be discussed. The very first ones on African soil. Number 1 was to stop slave trade. Number 2 was, and still remains, control of alcoholic drinks. So